Hey, what's up? Nemo here. I took a couple notes in trying to answer your question on Reddit that was about our proportions and anatomy, you're right. So the first thing I thought when I saw this is like, hey, this is pretty good. And it is pretty good. It's actually really good. I like it a lot. I like the scene. And in general, I think anatomy and proportions are fairly good. Now, you could say proportions are a little bit cartoony or comic book-ish because the head is a little small and the pelvis is also pretty small. But it's okay. I mean, they look cool. It's like I don't have a huge problem with that. The torso might be a little long in terms of more precise proportions, but it's in the realm of it's okay. It's in the ballpark, so it's fine. A few things that I wanted to point out though, and that's gonna lead me to talking about anatomy, is that I feel like in certain areas you do not clarify enough, or maybe it gets lost, how the volumes are. Like you really want to keep track and describe with your lines as much as possible where things are going. I think you did a pretty decent job. You actually had a pretty good job on the arm. In general, the upper torso, you probably have a better understanding of the top part of the body versus the bottom part. This leg is also pretty good. So as I was saying, it would be ideally you would use some of these lines to also describe volume so that your anatomy feels a little more solid. Because when I see this, I see like two lines, but because I don't have the feeling of, hey, this is actually going this direction, and then there is a block here of some sort. You could use that maybe, or one of the tendons to describe that. It starts to break the illusion of space apart, and this is good. This part is pretty good. The triceps going, yeah, that direction is pretty good. But here again, especially where the insertions are and the overlap is, which is my second point, you're kind of starting to lose that feeling of three-dimensionality. So here you might want, especially because these dudes are extremely buff, you probably want to add a little more definition to those areas. As I said before, or didn't I say it yet? No, I think I didn't say it yet. You're missing some bony landmarks here. I don't think I mentioned it yet. So I believe you have a pretty good understanding of surface anatomy, or at least for muscles. But when it comes to describing attachments to bones, which is what gives solidity to the figures, it's starting to lack a little bit because I don't see a pelvis here. I don't see a great trochanter here. I don't really see the rib cage. Yeah, a little bit here, maybe, but not enough. The collarbones are also kind of under appreciated here, I guess. So it would be just a little more. It would need a little more definition like this. Then it's really up. In the end, it's really up to the rendering. But if you're studying anatomy, I highly, highly recommend focusing on volumes and not neglecting the key bony landmarks. Like you got the sternocleidomastoid here, which is correct. But especially if you're doing a study, you don't want to neglect the other parts. You do want Adam's apple or windpipe. You do not want to neglect anything that's here. Like here, this part, obviously neglected. It's not super necessary to draw that every single time, but especially if you want to do comics, and it looks like you might want to do that, or manga, or whatever the declination is, you might want to go into some more detail in some key areas like the neck. It's going to be pretty visible, especially if you want to draw characters that are buff like these. Again, volumes for the pecs. So you want to have pretty clear, you don't have to draw, all the strands, that's fine. But you want to have it clear that, hey, this is going in like that. And this is actually, so this is attaching here and here. And there's a little triangle that goes on here, or let's try it better. And then you have your deltoid. This is actually going this way. It's basically turning around like that. It's pretty good. As I said, I think you have, a better understanding of the arms than anything else. Here you're missing the serratus. So for this kind of build, you probably do want to show a little bit of the serratus as well. So you can just go something like this. It's pretty easy. Like technically the muscle would be something like this. And oh man, what's it called? I'm sick, so sorry, I forgot the name. The obliques, that's the name. Insert in there, and you want to make sure you show a little bit of that so that you kind of convey the feeling of, hey, this guy is really buff. Rib cage again, a little more volumetric. The abs area is kind of losing, as I said, that three-dimensional vibe. When you draw the abs, you probably don't want to have them like super geometrical. Like some of them can have just a few lines defining them. And keep in mind, again, the bony landmarks. Here's one, probably a little bit of a larger pelvis, and then you got the obliques that insert here, and so here goes up something like that. You got your, man, what's it called? Tensor fascia here in the front, and that leads me to the leg, the greater canter. The gluteus is actually coming toward the front here, so the overlap here is wrong, and that like everything here would go basically towards the tibia in what's called the iliotibial tract, which kind of splits the lateral head of the quadriceps in two, even if you don't really see that unless the person is extremely tense. Yeah, this is pretty good. Like you can keep these muscle definitions as long as you do not lose track of the volumes again. And here again, the tensor fascia. And when you go down here, you probably want to show something like that. See, I think it feels a little more three-dimensional now. This thing in the leg, don't add it first, because usually unless the person again is like super buff and like 0% body fat, you tend not to see that much. Or at least you don't draw it, because you do have the sartorius. So the leg is obviously facing this direction. You have the sartorius that comes in and attaches below the patella, and then you got your hamstrings, and then you got your calf. But probably don't do that. I know that, yeah, technically it is kind of like that, because you got, the hamstrings that go in. But you tend not to draw that. Also because it attracts too much attention over there. So just keep that in mind. Anything else? Oh, there you go. Yeah, drawing through, by the way, something I did not mention. Make sure you draw through in your first sketch. Like here, the rib cage. I do want to know where it's going. I do want to know, hey, there is something inside here, and I'm just building on top. Also because if you draw through, you have a better understanding of how the next goes in. Same thing here. Draw through. Here, you want to, so do not just draw the outline. Make sure you understand where things are actually going. And here as well, again, a little more definition there. Volumes. And here, one thing that you usually get, or that I used to get wrong when I was drawing from reference, was that sometimes in reference, one of the limbs or some parts of the pose would be either straight towards us or straight towards the side. And this is probably the case because it looks like this forearm is just looking to the side. In this case, I think you should take a little more creative license and decide, okay, is this going away? Is this going in this direction? Or is this coming towards us? Like that. So this is probably not explanatory enough, something like this. So what's happening here? I would probably do this to show that, hey, it's actually a punch. But it feels kind of, if this guy punched already, the head should probably be a little more stretched, it's like a little more, something like that. Because this guy got punched, right? Probably spitting something like that. So that we have, ideally we would have the action line going this direction, but that covers other things that you did not ask. So yeah, just bear those things in mind, and in general, it's pretty good. Remember, when you study anatomy, focus on overlap. The three-dimensional aspect, don't forget the muscles. In general, most of them are just like this, teardrop shapes with the tendons. And yeah, draw the insertions and attachments or origins so that you do know where things are actually coming from and going to. Okay, I hope this was helpful. And yeah, have a good time.